Sidharth Ram leads the Leo Group based out of Thrissur, Kerala's largest pharmaceutical distributor and a super stockist for iconic brands like Jockey.
Generational wealth by just investing in one right thing. I'm happy to copy somebody else and do it better than them. I believe there is a sense of excitement in that. If half your ideas work, you're a fantastic entrepreneur. That's the reason why I got into investing. 10 years from now, this 10,000 rupees is only worth like 200 rupees. So you can't put all your wealth in something like this. It was very risky. The rationale behind gold is very similar to Bitcoin on the initial stage. That is that currency is losing value. I hope I don't get arrested for this.
So, good morning, everyone. So, welcome to another episode of the podcast where we go beyond the usual headlines and into the minds of entrepreneurs who are quietly transforming the business landscape. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting someone I deeply respect, not just for the scale of his business, but for the humility, discipline, and governance he brings to it. Sidharth Ram leads the Leo Group based out of Thrissur, Kerala's largest pharmaceutical distributor and a super stockist for iconic brands like Jockey. But what makes his conversation special is not just his impressive business portfolio, but his rare ability to read the story behind the numbers. He is an ACMA certified chartered accountant who understands the margins of the business, cost of capital, return on equity, compounding, and cash flow discounting better than most, and uses this fluency to scale, acquire, and invest wisely across equity, real estate, gold, and even crypto way before it was fashionable. Let's dive into the mind of a numbers led entrepreneur. Sidhu, so I call him Sidhu. Sidhu, to start with, I gave a brief outline on Leo Group. I would like to kick off with your family, your father, your uncle, and your cousins at Botswana. If you can give a little bit idea to the whole audience person.
Firstly, Alex, thank you so much for having me here. This is actually out of comfort thing for me. I'd rather mostly be in the background than the foreground. And I really sincerely hope that people who've come here get some value out of it. Given the background, since most people don't know, we started business in 1974 as pharma distributors. Small 250 square feet warehouse behind a big business operation. My father was IIT, Indian Institute of Sciences, educated person. And so his essential thought process was very methodical. And operations were always methodical processes. He went on to become the chairman of Dhanlakshmi Bank also, incidentally, at which point he took it public, and it achieved the largest growth in its history during his tenure. My dad's brother, Mr. Anantharaman, was the chairman of Catholic Syrian Bank, among other things. He's a pretty well-known financial, I don't know what you call it, investor in Kerala. Our family businesses include a university. We are the first private university in Botswana in Southern Africa. We started off with NIIT's franchise. I don't know if this generation, many people know NIIT, but we started as NIIT's franchise there, and then went on to make it a private university where we educate a lot of the students there. Over the years, we've expanded to other countries throughout Southern Africa there as well. That's the brief about that side. I came into business about 20 years ago after doing consulting in different parts of the world. It was very simple. My dad was a very sweet guy. So he asked me, do you want to come back to business? I said, I'll give it a try. If I don't like it, I'll go and do my MBA and PhD or whatever. So but before I realized it, it's been 20 years. So that's the story.
Sid, when you manage this businesses, like not only the pharma, the Botswana business, or you are involved or directly or indirectly involved, there should be on the group as such. What are the value systems you hold as a group?
So since the beginning, the aim was never for ourselves. While many people say it in theory, we always had 4 or 5 interest groups who were valued equally, and that would include obviously our employees, the bankers who trust us, depositors who deposit money, our customers, and of course our shareholders. So it was never that one group pays a price at the cost of the other. So there was never a concept of profit at all costs, which perhaps over the years, when you look at it, maybe affects the hyper profitability of a business. You don't make mega profits. But I think in the long run, such value systems allow for long term existence of an organization. So we've lasted for more than 50 years. I'm assuming that one of the reasons is because of these thought processes.
What helped you to scale the pharma distributor business? Is it just the macro environment or?
So, there may be budding entrepreneurs here. One of the key core rules that we set in the business was never to take out more than 30% of our profits from the business. We've never taken out more than that. In the last 50 years, 70% has always been clawed back. That has helped build core capital in the business. The second thing is we've always tried to build hardcore teams. That is, every business will have a hardcore team and absolute transparency. So those who are working in our organization, from the top management, managers, assistant managers, chief executive, they all know all our figures in that business. And they're paid a share of profit of that business. Because of that, there is a sense of ownership for people working with us. That they feel that it is part of their thing. And it has helped create a thinking organization. The advantage of a thinking organization is us sitting in the top. We don't know everything, what is happening there. In fact, people doing that job know far more than what we do. And when they say that, the growth of the organization helps us also to grow, and I get a share of it, then it is easier to scale at that time. And a lot of the ideas come from the bottom to the top. Our job is mainly to pick and choose which of the ideas are there. So I think that is a main contributing factor to scaling up. The other aspect is being in Thrissur. I don't know how many people know the advantages of Thrissur as a town. Generally in Kerala, I don't know if most people know this, but Thrissur is considered a place of business. A lot of entrepreneurs come from Thrissur. Now, there is one or two core reasons for that. One is the Kuri system. The Kuri system has allowed for capital to be raised in Thrissur. Sadly, the government is not that positive about it, but from very, very old times, when we never used to get good credit from the banks, you can call the Kuri when you need money. And if you do it in the right way, you can get it at very low interest cost. So that allowed access to capital. Second aspect is there were 3 banks there. Catholic Syrian Bank, South Indian Bank, Dhanlakshmi Bank. All these helped allow access to capital. So the other reason why businesses in Thrissur could scale up and entrepreneurship could really grow was the access to capital. And if you were disciplined, you could get access to capital. So we could call Kuri without giving security, because everybody knew we'll pay on time. You never needed to call us twice. We never bounced a single amount. So these things helped in raising funds when we didn't have funds at that time.
So when you said 30%, you never take out more than 30%. This, can you clarify a little bit more on that? This includes your salaries and other things, or any perks or anything?
Yeah. So the rules of the business is a maximum percentage of the profits around 10, 10-ish, so the percentage, is given as compensation to the partner managing the business. Right. They can take it out as a car, they can take it out as salary, they can take it out as whatever. Doesn't matter. The remaining amount after that, maximum 30% is allowed as a dividend to be given to the shareholders. Right. So I, as somebody who's managing the business, is only allowed a salary. The shareholders get a dividend for their contribution as capital. Additional amounts contributed by the shareholders as deposits in the business are paid interest every year. So there's a very clear segregation between the three. I'm sure.
So the maximum perks or salaries allowed will be 10%, and over and above there will be 30% as a dividend.
Exactly. That's right. That's the way it is.
So this structure of this discipline structure, was it right from the beginning, or it just over the years it shaped up?
From day one, that's been the practice.
From day one.
Yeah, from day one. I think we faltered in the middle for maybe a couple of years when some risk we took didn't pay off in the 80s.
Yeah.
But pretty much throughout, the discipline has always been followed. That's the way. I don't know how you would view it. You have experience with a lot of other businesses. So
yeah, see, more or less we'll try to do that, but I don't think people follow that. Even for me also, I don't think we follow a disciplined approach, because we take numerous calls, and especially in the financial services industry, which I am today, it is getting disrupted every 3 years.
Right.
So we have to reshape our organization completely in 3 years. So when you do that, you will have to take many bold calls for that matter. I think you also know that when I was a stockbroker, from stockbroking to change it to a wealth management, and wealth management, and then take a different route to retail NBFC. So we are basically taking. So these are all bold calls. So retaining 30% of this one may not have happened at any point of time. So by principle, we also like to do that, but it has not done that. So that is the other question is, like, when you say that why the choice of businesses you take, is it that is based on these security aspects, or what you can say? I don't want to put it as a security aspect, more of a clarity aspect.
So choice of business is taken very simply based on return on investment opportunities and cost of fund. What is the cost of fund from banks and other sources, right? So and the risk return ratios. So if there is something that you know is very low risk, but gives you, just an example I'm saying, say gives you 16% as a return, your cost of fund with the bank is 9%. But the chances of it continuing is substantial. We would definitely go for it, even if it's say 15%. Because you have that, leverage aspect and the difference between, the cost of fund from the bank and so. If it's a higher return thing, a one-time deal or a higher return business, then and the risk is far higher. Say you're likely to get 30% return, but you're likely to get it only for 1 year, and the chance of losing capital is there. Your capital which you invest 100 rupees may become 70 rupees. Even if a chance of getting 30% return, we may not take it because not losing capital is the first law. Everything else, even if you make slightly less, this is our philosophy. I'm sure there are very different philosophies for different entrepreneurs, but that's the philosophy we've taken in the way we do it. So we hardly ever lose capital.
Again, my question was purely on like the distribution business or partnering with the best of the franchise or best of the businesses, like pharmaceutical businesses, best of the pharmaceutical industry, or with Jockey, the distribution. So that was a conscious choice to take that.
I think not to blow my own trumpet, but I think the best associate with the best. Yeah. They also do market research and find out who is the best in the business. And normally they would come to us. We've hardly ever tried to promote ourselves in the business. But generally, over the years, they've started coming to us. There is another aspect which I'd like to mention, and I realize we're doing it from the book you gave me of Pulak Prasad, on how you expand the business very much like nature. When you look at nature, how does it do it? It tries a small variation, and then sees whether there's a genetic variation there, and then sees whether that variation works. If that variation works, a frog tries a small color change, and if it's able to survive in nature, then that becomes what is applicable to the entire population. Right? Similarly, in business, what we try and do is, okay, there is the existing business, but we say, okay, now we are outsourcing transportation, right? In terms of logistics, sending throughout Kerala. What if we decided to do it anyway? We have so much business. Okay, so we try it in a small area. Oh, this seems like we're able to make a decent return on investment on this. Okay, then let us expand to the next one. So the experiments would be done on a small basis from this.
From the larger vertical.
Yeah, and because in business, one thing that one has to realize is, if anybody here decides to become an entrepreneur, maybe half your ideas will work. If half your ideas work, you're a fantastic entrepreneur. Mostly half won't work. You'll be lucky if 3 out of 10 work, right? So if you put all your chips into one thing, all your money into one, and it goes, you're in serious financial trouble and one can't recover. So from that basis, we try small, and then if it works, we push it bigger. So I can give you various examples of how we've done that.
So when you said the principals look at you with so the best meets the best. So what are the modes they will be looking at for a franchise, for a distribution house?
So when it comes to distribution, it's very simple. There is no rocket science in distribution. It is, do you keep all the products? Do you keep it properly? For an example, in pharma, you have temperature control. You have 2 to 8 degrees vaccinations. You have to deliver vaccines on time. Otherwise, the efficacy of the vaccine goes. You can't deliver expired stuff. People's lives is at stake, right? When you take back stock, there is some stock is expired. How quickly you take it back? You have to destroy it correctly, because otherwise it can go back to the market. Now, there's a lot of morality, ethical side to it also that you follow, even if it costs you a lot of money. The other is, see, throughout Kerala, you got to reach it. Now, if you have an outsourced partner, you have no control over this product when you give it to them. They may put it along with, meat, or you may put it along with clothes. Now, you're talking about medicines, right? So we have our own, now because we developed it, we have our own logistics. We are able to reach it much faster. We are able to reach it at much better quality. Now, that would definitely add points to the whole thing. Obviously, over time, because we flowed back capital. You have deeper pockets. Banks are willing to talk to you. So those things help as well. So these are the things I think they would generally look at. The other aspect is warehousing. Now, a big part of logistics is warehouses. There are warehouses and warehouses. There are some where rats run around. There are some which you can sleep on. Our warehouses are where you can sleep on. It costs us more, obviously. But somebody comes to our warehouse and goes to a competitor's warehouse. Definitely ours will definitely score more. But it comes with the essential philosophy that, see, we are doing a service to customers. We're selling something that is medicines. It is our duty to do it in a right way. So that it comes from the qualities.
So coming to the team. So this can't be run with just one person. It's a micro. I know for sure that you are a completely professionally run company. So how did you find the team first, and what is the roles they play? Like how much of this one is given to them? Empowerment is given to them.
I think team building requires 3 essential aspects. One is recruiting the right person. The second is training the person properly on the job. Third is delegating authority and responsibility. One without the other doesn't work, right? So finding the right person, I would say you can find maximum somebody who fits 60%. There's no perfect. I will tell you something my father said when one of my people came complaining. They said, so this guy, he talks rudely and, he doesn't do his job properly. So my dad said, yeah, there's one person. He's really good, fabulous personality, does his job perfectly, understands from the first instruction you give him. Unfortunately, he's a collector. See, he's not going to come to work for us. Right? So you have to take whatever is available in the market, build that person to do extraordinary work. And that doesn't mean he has to sacrifice his family life or anything. But it's about proper training and then delegating, giving confidence. So that's how we start. And then the second aspect is transparency. So as long as, the way I look at it, as long as we have no ulterior motives as entrepreneurs and we want the whole team to do well. So we honestly say, see, this is what our plan is. Do you think you can come on board with us on this plan? And let's build this team together. And then, this is what I think you can get from this if you do your job. This is what the kind of ROIs we're working on. And what do you think? So mostly they're on board after that. And each team runs on its own. So what we have another incentive system is while the people in that team get majority of their incentive from their team, they get a small portion from the others. So then it builds a kind of coerciveness saying, oh, we're part of this large organization. So that's how we try.
Sid, I've seen that many of the entrepreneurs, they try to jump into giving a solution or a product which is path-breaking for the society or something. Everyone. So today in the startup culture, what we have today, no one looks at the unit economics or the financial metrics. Whereas in your case, you've already described that it is completely ROI based. You know that what is the number. So you have taken businesses which is clarity of that. What is your take on that? So obviously, at the end of the day, we need people who are taking higher risk.
Yes.
So they only build new products and new services to the society also. And what is your angle on that?
So I don't know if you've read the book by Peter Thiel, 0 to 1.
Yeah, 0 to 1.
If you haven't, you should definitely read 0 to 1. I am not Peter Thiel. And I don't aspire to be Peter Thiel. I'm happy to copy somebody else and do it better than them. What the Japanese have done, what the Chinese have done. Japanese didn't invent cars. Ford did. Mercedes did, whatever. But they did it better than the Americans. Now the Chinese are doing it better than the Americans now. So in my case, I feel I don't want to take the hyper risk where the chance of success is 0.1% or whatever. And I don't feel I'm brilliant enough for it as well. So I would rather seize a concept that is working, take it and do it as well or better than those people. So that doesn't belittle or I don't look down upon, or neither do I look up on the startup people. But that is a different group of people. In Malayalam, you say Mela Agasham Tarabhumi. They don't mind betting it all on it. And I believe there is a sense of excitement in that. I don't want that excitement. I'd rather have my return on investment.
But will you invest in them?
Yes, definitely, because a portion of my money where it doesn't affect my quality of life and more importantly, my wife's quality of life, I would definitely like to put it in it because as a society, we need thinkers like that who think out of the box and who change the system for the better. And if, Uber didn't think that way, we wouldn't have it. If Swiggy didn't think that way, we wouldn't have it. Most of India has copied the West, but on all these concepts. But, we need people like that. And I'm very clear, that's not me.
So in your distribution business, so you have acquired a lot of smaller businesses. So how do you look at that acquisition opportunities?
other than what I say on this, there is that entrepreneur's gut instinct also. I mean, that is one aspect which I think can't be explained. While all the figures may say this is right, you feel there's something wrong. It's like a marriage, or you meet a person and like on the face of it, they're handsome or beautiful, they come from a good family, blah, blah, blah. But finally you feel there's no vibe. There's something wrong there, right? So that aspect is there. I don't want to discount that in any way. But when I look at businesses, there's various things. I can try and list out 2-3 aspects. Say it's outside our core area of strength, say Trichy, Cochin, whatever it is. We're doing one in Calicut. Then 2-3 elements. One is, can we use those products here to expand? Right? What is the current return on investment there? If you invest this capital, what is the current investment? Can I manage this from here to there? Because some businesses you cannot manage. They are very good return on investment, but you cannot sit here and manage it there. It can go wrong. So that is a other aspect. If it is something here, where in my core area, I'm sure most people are familiar with these terms like fixed costs and variable costs. Now, variable costing analysis is probably one of the most underrated things when you analyze a business. That is, many businesses have a, say, 70 to 80% fixed costs. When I say fixed costs, I mean like buildings, certain machinery, this, that, whatever. And there's a lot of variable costs. There is, for increase in sales, you have slight elements like you have to pay slightly more salaries or slightly more vehicle costs. So if I buy a business in my core area and I'm able to take away the fixed costs, I'm able to merge it into my building, I'm able to use my own vehicles to take it. So then, even if the return on investment on that business is less, and I'm able to take away these fixed costs, then my ROIs are much higher. So there I would look at it in that way. So it depends on which area I'm looking at in terms of acquiring, and then I would go into.
On a lighter note, is there something on the genes on Tam Tamil Brahmin, all these things, they naturally get these numbers on the plate. Are you wired like that?
I don't consider myself exceptional in maths, but there is this thing about discipline that is very. See, in a Jewish community, if you look at them, what they take pride in is generational wealth. Are you able to transfer generational wealth from one generation to the other? So for a function, they would ensure they give shares, not a expensive watch or those kind of things, and anything that multiplies, right? So similarly, in our or in a Gujarati community, they're told to come into the business at a very young age. So they're naturally good at business. In this thing, it is about numbers. It's no use if you're a multi-millionaire. Somebody who's gotten into a fabulous engineering college, or somebody who's gotten 100 out of 100 is always considered the king, right? And that comes from even like when you wake up in the morning, column. Even the column is drawn based on mathematical principles. So the number of dots there is and how you do the design, it's all related to astrology, astronomy, and drawings and things like that. So there is a lot of, even the games that was played earlier, Palangri and all that. So there's a lot of numbers and calculations that are taught from very young age. Maybe that could be the reason why mathematics, and I would say women played a very big role. So the mothers taught all this to the children also from a very, very, very young age. I think that could be the reason why I can't include myself, but yeah.
Basically, mostly you're saying it's genes is definitely maybe there, but mostly the disciplines you follow.
Yeah, it's a discipline. Yeah. It's nothing to do with the gene.
Yeah. And how do you see about the new generation, next generation coming
losing
in?
it big time. Also the kind of food that is eaten. I think Western sciences only is coming to realize it now. Buddha said it a long time ago, you are what you eat. Western sciences now is coming to the fact that you eat simple food rather than complex carbs, and how it's able to process and reach the brain. So simple food and fasting, all these were very much, I think, part of most cultures, but a little strict in our thing. All these help in terms of clarity in the head. It's simple. When we eat fast food, we feel dull. So obviously, the other side is also true. When we eat, there's more clarity in the brain. So the young generation is less.
So now let's get into a little bit on the investing beyond your own businesses, because so Sid is like, even though I am a finance professional, but I look upon him as his investing style or his understanding the businesses mostly on the numbers side. I really look upon him. So on the asset classes, I know that he has all the asset classes, which is equity, gold, real estate, even Bitcoin, crypto. So if you can a little bit go through that, your investment philosophy first, then I need to go more on Bitcoin later.
Okay, I hope I don't put people to sleep.
No.
So the philosophy comes from the fact that I don't want to work and I want to be lazy, right? So what is the best way to live a life of financial freedom, where lazy in life, you must be able to do what you want to do in life, and but all your basic needs, your family's needs, and your obligations to society must be looked after financially. Now, the best way to do that is investing, because if you're a self-employed, your time goes. You're a doctor, you have to spend 8 hours. You're a businessman, maybe you can delegate out quite a bit, but you still spend about 4 hours a day running a business, or 5 hours a day. An investor can get away with spending few hours a month if you are a good investor, right? So that is where the philosophy comes from. And if you can look at learning and investing, that's probably a very nice hobby to have and get you financial freedom end of the day. The second is if you look at the power of compounding, I'm sure most people know power of compounding, but if you actually look at how many people have achieved generational wealth by just investing in one right thing over 20 years, and which has given them and their families financial freedom, then you'll see that that's the thing you have to do in life. Right? So that's the reason why I got into investing. Now, let's take one or two investments. Maybe crypto is something, it would interest a lot of people. I don't invest in all crypto. I invest only in Bitcoin. I don't know the others. I don't want to know the others. The reason for it is some philosophy.
Yeah. I think you should say, when do you invest it?
Yeah, okay.
It was, if I'm not wrong, it was when it was $2,000.
Yeah.
Now we are $105,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
From 2000. I've invested at higher rates also, but yes. But that had nothing to do with money. It had something to do with the fact that, I don't know how many of you know this, but the dollar has lost 99% of its value since the 1930s. What a dollar could buy in 1930 to what a dollar can buy now, and rupee is much worse, is 99% less. So it has 1% of its value. So imagine we all work very hard for what we earn, right? And we keep this 10,000 rupees in a safe somewhere. 10 years from now, this 10,000 rupees is only worth like 200 rupees. So there's an essential unfairness to the whole thing, where your value is being taken away from you. So I started thinking, fiat currencies don't make sense because they're not linked to anything. Earlier, they were linked to gold. So you could just go and exchange your rupees or dollars, and you would get the same quantum of gold from the central banks. They took it off. In the 1970s, they took it off. So is there an alternative where I can just put this thing somewhere and it is able to retain its value? So that was the initial thinking, right? So I read Satoshi Nakamoto. He's the inventor of Bitcoin. His concept paper. And his concept paper was very simple. He said, see, gold retains its value. For the last 5,000 years it has. But you can't take gold and say you want to buy something somewhere. You can't take gold with you and go to a shop. Right? It's impractical. You can't transfer it. Say you have a daughter or somebody studying somewhere in Bangalore or somewhere. You can't send gold to them. It's difficult. It can get stolen. So is there another alternative? So this is where he invented this concept of 21 million fixed. It can never be produced anymore. So he brought it in as like a digital gold. That was his concept. So I said, oh, this is very interesting. Something where it retains its value regardless of the central bank printing money. That is what has happened throughout now in the last few years. Especially in COVID, the amount of money America has printed and we have all printed is too much. That is where the investment, this is an interesting concept. I said, okay, let me put money that I can afford to lose. So you can't put all your wealth in something like this because it's very risky. Tomorrow it can go bust. Put a little bit in it. And the more I read about it, they say, before you say this is all useless and this is all fraud, 1,000 hours of reading is typically something one must do before one comes to a conclusion. Right? So after that, I was reasonably convinced, and that's where I went about investing in this.
And of late, I know that last 2-3 years you have been investing in gold.
Yeah.
And the logic is maybe the geopolitical situation or the losing dollar value.
Yeah.
And I think, if I'm not wrong, you had told me that you are buying physical gold also. What is the rationale behind it?
I hope I don't get arrested for this. The rationale behind gold is very similar to Bitcoin on the initial stage. That is that currency is losing value. So they say സ്ഥലത്തിന് വില കൂടി, സാധനങ്ങൾക്ക് വില കൂടി. That's how you say. It's not that they have increased in price. It's that currency has lost value. Right? That's what's happening. Right? So it's not like the land size is increasing. Land size remains the same, but you still have to pay more in currency. So what was and it was very obvious that governments throughout the world were printing currency. So what was the things that you cannot print and has retained value throughout? So the moment they started quantitative easing, they have all these fancy words for printing money, but quantitative easing or central bank, they manipulate treasuries. So what was it that cannot be printed? So one was gold. So that's my essential thing. The second thing is action of central banks, Reserve Bank of India or the Fed Reserve. What was it that they're going to do the moment general public start losing faith in currency? They're going to try and link it to something. And they'll link it to gold. So they have started acquiring gold in the last 2-3 years. If you look at purchases by central banks throughout the world, they have purchased large quantities of gold. And it's simple demand and supply. Everybody understands the more the demand, less the supply, prices will go. That was this thing on that. The issue, why I would like to have more physical is that not all digital ETFs have equal amount of gold in the bank. So push comes to shove, the whole financial system, there is an issue that could come very near. It could happen. Physical gold is something, it might be good to have. You can't have too much. Some thief is going to come home and rob you, but maybe a little bit might be worthwhile. These were the logics.
But when you said that central banks are amassing, I think yesterday there was a report, 95% of the central bankers said that we are going to buy gold more. So the thesis might be that. But on the flip side, when you say about the central bankers investing in gold, so instead of papers of any other countries, so you're not adding any value to the GDP. Basically, you are buying an asset and keeping it.
Yes.
So how long will they do this? What is your view? Any view on that? How long they will continue doing this?
They to me, in my limited knowledge of these things, I think they'll have to do it till there is faith in the financial system again. So sadly, right now, the faith in the financial system has been lost to a large extent. US Treasury bonds rate is rising. It's reached almost 4%. If US Treasury bond rate is 4%, then everything is
Relate.
related to that interest, right? So what would happen is when their credit card rates are going to go up, their housing loans rate is going to go up, their education loan. So there's going to be defaults.
Multiplier effect.
There could be defaults sooner or later. If that comes in America, which is $20+ trillion economy, so we are bound to get affected, regardless of whether India is doing well right now. We are just a $4 trillion economy. So, so the faith in the financial system in order to come back requires that all this, in Malayalam you say kalangi, like that has to happen. So till then they need to equate it to something, and probably that would be good. That's what I feel.
What is your view on Chinese Yuan or renminbi? Will they become an alternate currency at some point of time?
It will take time. It's very difficult to replace the dollar at the moment. They control all the world's financial institutions, IMF, World Bank, all that is. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the dollar itself is not backed by anything, and they've been printing, and they are highly indisciplined. So if you take all the economies of the world in the past, so in Mumbai it was the British pound, which was the reserve currency. Before that was the Dutch guilders, which was the currency. So every 100 years, 150 years, the reserve currency keeps changing, and the other currency loses value. So the dollar will be replaced by the yuan, to answer your question, but or it could be a universe of currencies, or it could be Bitcoin. You never know. We don't know the answer to that, but it's going to take time. It's going to take some time.
I'll just open the floor to for them to ask some questions. Before getting into that,
you have a view on all this? You asked.
No, my view is like my view is a basket of currencies, equitable to all. My view is a new financial system should come in where it is not linked to only US dollar. It has to be a basket of currencies, and to keep it very simple, it has to be linked with the GDP of the current economies today.
Okay.
So that means if it is US is 28 trillion, China is 18 trillion, India is 4 trillion. Based on that, the currency weightage should be given, which is equitable for all, and the money will go to equally split. And who are doing efficiency of production, efficiency, they will move up the ladder. Who is screwing up will not will come down. So that is my view on a new change in financial system, rather than one person controlling the whole thing. Again, it is an utopian theory. I don't know. So Sid, before opening to the floor, coming just last to the Leo group. So I know that you have said that there are some risks involved in the futures of business when Reliance or the new format of distribution is coming in. They're trying to cut the distributors, or they're trying to bring different level of efficiencies and all those things. What is your take on that? Are you preparing yourself for something different, or for the next 10 years, 20 years? What is your view on that?
See, essentially, I feel as long as you're solving problem, you're relevant. Right now, the way India is to stake, I mean, we all travel from one place to another. The kind of hassles there is just to go from one point to another point is really, really, and we are solving a problem of reaching medicines from one end to the other, or reaching jockey products from one. It is still very, very complicated in India, and till that problem is solved, we have maybe drone deliveries just started in Shenzhen, in China, and things like that. So till all that comes in, I think there is still a lot of future for people like us.
So how you changed, like how you moved into that your own logistics thing?
Yeah.
So that is how you stay relevant.
Exactly, and you keep upgrading. So
tomorrow you can buy the drones. Huh?
Yeah.
You can be the drone operator.
Exactly. I'll be the drone. If I am required to operate the drone, so right now we move to electric vehicles.
Yeah.
A lot of our supply vehicles are now electric. They only allow 150 kilometers mileage now. But the moment they allow 500 throughout Kerala, we'll do only electric, because the cost-wise is much less. Electricity charges, we've moved all our offices mostly run on solar now. So it requires you to invest more, but where it is still, so the threshold is can you, so the solar now, you can make about 12 to 14% return. So, and your cost of fund is only 8 to 9%. So it makes sense to put into solar. So it's all based on these numbers at any point. Electric vehicles now, they're giving you depreciation of 40%. So now it makes sense to buy an electric vehicle because you get that depreciation, you can write it off in your numbers. And when you look at the costs, in a bike, for example, 4,000 rupees you can get savings between a petrol and an electric vehicle. 4,000 rupees is more than enough to repay your vehicle's cost. So in 2.5 years, your vehicle is yours. So is it risky to buy? Everybody asks me, isn't it risky to buy? The risk is 2.5 years. If you are able to run this electric vehicle 2.5 years, the saving itself is enough. So that way, you just keep looking for technology where you can get decent ROIs, adapt. Hopefully, we will survive the whole thing.
So look at the intricate numbers and also stay relevant. Staying relevant is constantly. Constant. So I'll open the floor to the audience now. If you want to ask some questions to Sid, please go ahead.
Sir, my question is that what is your advice to a new entrepreneur, new startup person? What will you have to keep in mind in this changing scenario? Since a lot of organizations, small companies are absorbed by bigger companies. So, a startup person, what is your advice?
Yeah, so mine might not be the typical advice that people give. One thing is, say you have something which you want to disrupt, right? Typically, a startup would want to disrupt something that is running right now. Please go talk to the traditional guy who's running it right now. Because you may come with a lot of assumptions on how you can disrupt. A lot of people come to me, for example, saying, we want to run a pharma home delivery service. Now, the wholesaler has 10% margins. The retailer has 20% margin. So there's 30% margin. If I just buy it directly, I can sell it and I'll make my money. This is the assumption of a startup. Now, the problem is there's a lot of intricacies and costs. For example, you can't get the distribution. You can't get it directly. You put all your you hire your people, you take a license and all that. Then you realize, damn, I have to buy it from the distributor only. Right. So there goes my one margin. The retailer is already giving it a 13% discount. So how do I? So first, when you have an idea, go and talk to the traditional guy to say, I have this idea. Most of us are happy to, you're not a threat to us. So we're happy to be very honest with you, saying this could be an issue, this could be an issue. And who knows, if your idea is really good, we might be willing to partner and fund you even, right? So that is probably the first thing I would say you must do. You have a chance to know what can go wrong. You have a chance to get some money also. So why not talk to the traditional guy?
Any questions?
Have you implemented any automation or robotics?
That's a very good question. So if you take Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, in the whole warehouse there's like one person, right? So why don't we do it? That's the question. If they can do it, why can't we do it? So there's 2 points to it. One is, what is your cost of implementing this? Second is, what is the cost of labor? Now, there you pay $20 an hour, which is equivalent to 1,700 rupees for 1 hour. Right? So 8 hours of work, you're talking about what? About 15,000 rupees, approximately, I'm saying, per day. Right? You can get a person to work for you the whole month for 15,000 rupees here. Right? So, and a human is better than any robot even now. Right? First point. The second point is, see, when you take my industry, now a medicine, a paracetamol in a Western country, you go to buy it, is 100 times the price here. At least 50 times the price. Now, for them to automate makes sense because that is the level of pricing there is. Here, when I get my labor so cheap and the automation is so expensive, that is, it costs at least $10-20 million to automate a part of the warehouse. Right now, it doesn't make financial sense. Right? There will come a threshold where it will happen. So we're doing small automation, like artificial intelligence, for example, analytics of which stock I should keep when, for what season. I don't need to keep 30-day stock throughout, right? There are fast-moving stock. For that, during rainy season, I know that cold is likely to come. People are going to get, skin diseases, those kind of things. Yes. So analytics can tell me based on past few years, what is the thing that I need to keep more stock and what is the less stock. Where to keep my stock. That is, the fast-moving stock has to be kept in the beginning, so at picking time. So these kind of analytics now has become very relevant. Robotics is still something that one has to. I think it will take time. Barcoding is still not coming to India. So the day wages become slightly. That's where all these numbers become important. So the day the wages become too much, then probably we'll enter robotics a little bit. That's the way I would look at it.
So how do you get rid of this expired medicine?
Yeah, so the government of India has very clear laws, and in Kerala it's very, very strictly followed. All the expired stock comes back, and depending on the company, some companies say send it back to the central warehouse, and then we'd send it back. Some companies say you need to destroy it here. It's inked. The entire thing is inked, and so nothing can be taken out of it. And there's an incineration plant which is run by the IMA. It is sent there and it is incinerated. You get a certificate for that. So, and it's sent in sealed bags. All this happens in Kerala. So it's a compared to most other states, it's a much more regulated place. Hi.
Sir, do you have any plan to bring your entire business under integrated logistics supply chain management? Or if you have such a plan, what will be your estimated timeline to implement it?
What do you mean by
integrated logistics?
Integrated logistics?
Integration means bring all business under
Even the jockey and
Yeah,
farm.
under one.
one direction. Means the DHL, Ekart.
Yeah.
This is the efficacy.
So, I mean, the basic logic of doing that is economies of scale, right? So, basically, you bring everything under one warehouse. You try and use the same people for different things. You try and use a similar software, so development costs are less. We are doing that in many ways. But one thing you must understand is different products are very, very different. So, for example, there's no real expiry in jockey products, right? What does that happen to the t-shirt? It goes slightly out of style, maybe. That's it. But a medicine, if it expires, is right. So the software has to.
Temperature also different.
Temperature control is much more. So, yeah. So we try and bring in integrated logistics and vehicles. We try and merge together wherever possible. Our warehouses sometimes we do together, but it's separated. We do try and bring it, but it's not always possible.
But it's already you are doing
a lot of it is we bring in a lot of economies of scale.
Economies of scale.
So your business needs of the product move fast and more profitable.
Which products move fast?
Of your business.
Which have profit margin.
High.
Why you want to make medicine?
Or the jockey.
Oh,
or-
right. Okay. So, pharma, despite what people think is a very low margin business, margins are fixed by the government. Wholesale margins are 10%, retail margins are 20%. It's fixed, right? Garments is different. Organized garments margins are fixed. Unorganized garments margins are very variable. It's a very simple basis on economics. That is, if you are a distributor of a good brand and the brand sells, your margins will be low because your risk is low. If you are a distributor of a lesser known brand, margins will be high, but risk is much higher. You may be stuck with dead stock. So it's like asking, is this a good business? There is really no good business and bad business. It is to a large extent, what is your risk profile? How good are you? Organized are you? Systematic are you? So a product for it, to answer your question, something that's really fast moving, has less margins, right? And you have to ensure that you manage it in such a way that you still make your return on investment. So if you, by chance in future, you will look at manufacturing or distributing, my suggestion is please go talk to entrepreneurs who are already doing it. They will tell you a lot of things which you don't have to learn by making mistakes.
Is there any new brands or something which you are on the look?
So
Something interesting on that.
yeah, so the biggest opportunity and threat, if you look at us, what would be artificial intelligence coming in, and in that the see most likely these artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence. That's the next two phases in AI. Right?
Yeah.
Now they are going to bring out medicines or things where diseases are going to get completely eliminated. You are just going to probably go in next 20 years, go sit inside a machine. It'll tell you these are the things likely you're going to get in the next 10 years. Have these things to avoid it. Right. So our entire industry could be completely not there in 20 years. So I would be looking at opportunities in that, where one can invest in companies who are doing it. One, machines taking distribution or buying machines, something that can do it. Those kind of things in future.
On the diagnostic side.
It could be diagnostics. It could be analytics. It could be just knowledge AIs.
So on the preventive side also, that
it's all going to be preventive.
The nutraceuticals kind of things.
In the next 20 years, I think most of the medicines or most of the solutions is all going to be preventive. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be like you're probably going to know when cancer is going to come 5 years before you're going to get it. So, very good chance.
Any more questions?
Ideas that have failed? Oh, plenty. More ideas have failed than succeeded. So there, I'll give you. We invested in a. I should have listened to my mother, but I didn't. So we took distribution of the soap powder, right? And so I brought it home. She gave it at home, and she said, "This thing doesn't lather, right?" So pada, it doesn't have pada. So I was like, what is the big deal about pada? He's like, no, women, I don't want to genderify, at home, they like the foam, right? This is not relevant, right? The product was far superior, but the fact is that just because it didn't foam, people didn't like it, right? So we lost a lot of money on that. It was a simple aspect of it not foaming. There are existential threats. Like, for example, we were distributors of Nokia. And I'm sure all of you know Nokia phones. We've all used it. Nokia didn't innovate. So one of the threats of being in a distributor is you're largely at the hands of the other person, at the mercy of the company. The trick is that once you realize it's going down the hill, is to quickly get out before you make a loss. So yes, to answer your question, plenty. So there's 2 examples I gave. I can give you another 10 more. I've lost one.
Different companies are in a race for the efficacy of their pharmaceutical products. So how does it affect in your business?
Yeah, so you mean patented drugs?
The efficacy of their product.
Efficacy.
Efficacy, frankly, in India, that doesn't make any difference. In India, we are mostly branded generic companies. That is, most companies produce the same thing with different brands. A lot of it. So you have the same product being sold by different companies, similar chemical combinations. So when you're in business, you have to define your role very clearly. I am a distributor. I don't really care what the product is. My job is to ensure that it is reached at the right time, in the right quality, and it's available to the person on time. Right? What the product is, I don't really care. So if company A does a product which has efficacy, I will distribute that. If company B's product doesn't have efficacy and that goes down, I'll stop distributing that. So for me, the market is always going to be there, and I will do the product of whichever company is good. That's about it.
So how do you when you do that? It's a very tough call with the parent company. No, so we can do this, do that, or something. Do you have that kind of leverage with them?
I will simply not buy.
Yeah.
So
But they will push down, no? They'll try to push down.
no.
Not-
After a certain point, they can't.
Not like automobile companies.
No, because they are dealing with one company. I deal with 400.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to.
So you can take the call.
Yes.
So the lever is there with you.
Not just me. Most
No, but
pharma
the
distributors
the
have
distributors have the lever.
that power. Yes, that's right.
These assets, does it belong on the company's books? For example, like we are a dealer for medicines. The asset belongs to one. It's the
There are different models. There are models where you are just an agent for the company. There are most of it though we own the product. We buy it from the company and then we sell it.
so which means like you're not selling it when it's expired. It means a loss of the company.
So there are agreements with companies where you can send it back and they give you a credit note for it. You can buy equivalent products. So there are decent agreements where you're relatively protected. But obviously you have to be very careful. It doesn't happen. No curiosity about Bitcoin, where I bought it from. So,
I think you explained it better. So I think we'll wrap this session. So thank you, Sid, for this interesting session. And a lot of takeaways in the sense like we focus mostly on, so the sessions I've been having for last 4-5 times, but we focus more on the numbers per se this time. And you clearly gave us the clarity on how entrepreneurs should look at the key financial metrics. At the same time, you need to have the heart, or you need to take the gut move on what to take and what not to take. And you gave us a good class on cryptocurrency, the gold, and the losing dollar value, and finally, the staying relevant in business is very important. Rather than projecting for next 25 years, I think the key word is whether it's in investments or in business, running entrepreneurship is all being relevant and understand the financial metrics, the economics itself. Thank you so much, Sid.
Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for forcing me to come. I am a very I wouldn't have done it but for Alex. So
For
appreciate
sure,
it.
because
I hope it wasn't a complete waste of your time also.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you so much.
Thank you.